Good morning, everyone. It is certainly an honor to be with you on this morning. Again, I've been with you before, and it's an honor to be invited back, but also to be with you, even if virtually. And prayerfully, our time together is a one that blesses you and encourages you and leaves you excited for the rest of not just this day, but the week to come.
We hope we will have the chance to get to know you. You may say hello in the comments, go to ucwc.org, or send us an email at welcome@ucwc.org, welcome@ucwc.org, if you'd like more information about our congregation or would like to be in touch directly. We hope you will join us for our online social hour right after the service. The link and password are in connections, and they'll be online after the end of the service. Unitarian Universalism holds that great good comes from wide diversity. So whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your heritage, and from wherever your beliefs spring, we are pleased that you are here. Let us walk a while together. Reminder, please check connections for announcements and information on how to access our online events. I do have one special announcement. Our second Religious Education, or RE Ice Cream Social, is this Wednesday evening at 7. This month, we will meet in the closed-off portion of Gay Street in downtown Westchester. Look for the sign to find, or you can look for the Heisons. Chris Heisen is easy to spot in a crowd. And there are several shops in Westchester that sell ice cream. Pick your favorite and join us. The Chalice is by Omkar Atale, an excerpt from The Power of Words. Words, before being spoken, are under our total control. But after we speak the words, we fall under their control. Now, please join us in singing hymn number 22, Dear Weaver of Our Lives' Designs.
Whose patterns all obey.
Please join us in repeating together our unison affirmation. As you know, through our Social Justice Committee's Share the Plate program, the third Sunday of every month, we share our plate with a local nonprofit organization working to improve life for Chester County citizens. We are pleased to announce that the Share the Plate recipient for July is Unite for Her. The UCWC member, Deanna Gabe, is here to tell us some more about Unite for Her.
Good morning, Deanna Gabe. So in early 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was very lucky that I had great insurance and wonderful doctors that helped me with the medical piece of it. But you can imagine that this was a very overwhelming time for my family and for me. And there's a lot that's going on besides the physical and the medical. It's very psychologically demanding to go through cancer treatment, and often, the cure is or the treatment is is rough, to say the least. So luckily, I knew about Unite for Her. Unite for Her was founded in 2009 by Sue Weldon, who was herself diagnosed with breast cancer. She found that information about integrative therapies like massage, acupuncture, counseling, nutritional advice was very hard to come by and cost prohibitive. And so she made it her mission to be able to provide these kinds of information and services to people with breast cancer and now ovarian cancer. I can't tell you how wonderful it was to be a recipient of these services, to be a part of the Unite for Her Wellness program. It just helped me to feel less alone. It put me in a community of people that were so loving and caring, and it enabled me to access services that I would not have been able to access without Unite for Her. So please be generous as you can today, and thank you for letting me come and speak on behalf of Unite for Her.
We're very grateful for all the gifts of our members that keep us going. And today, you can also designate your check or your gift to the 100% to Share the Plate, or 50% Share the Plate, 50% the congregation. Or you could go ahead and send in your normal donations. You can donate online, you can mail a check, or you can use the PayPal QRC code. You will see all these options on the slide that will come up next. Thank you. For these gifts and all we give to our many communities, we are truly, truly grateful. Thank you. Please join us now in singing with our spirit singers, I've Got Peace Like a River. Hymn number 1.
Peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul, in my soul.
Let us, that is what happens when you are on multiple devices here. So let us turn our attention to a passage of scripture, 2 Kings, the second book of Kings, the 4th chapter, the 8th through the 37th verses. And from what is the New Revised Standard Version, it reads, one day Elisha was passing through Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to have a meal. So whenever he passed that way, he would stop there for a meal. And she said to her husband, look, I am sure that this man who regularly passes our way is a holy man of God. Let us make a small roof chamber with walls and put there for him a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so that he can stay there whenever he comes to us. One day when he came there, he went up to the chamber and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, call the Shunammite woman. When he had called her, she stood before him. He said to him, say to her, since you have taken all this trouble for us, what may be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army? And she answered, I live among my own people. He said, what then may be done for her? And Gehazi answered, well, she has no son, and her husband is old. He said, call her. And when he had called her, she stood at the door. He said, at this season, in due time, you shall embrace a son. She replied, no, my lord. O man of God, do not deceive your servant. The woman conceived and bore a son at that season, in due time, as Elisha had declared to her. And when the child was older, he went out one day to his father among the reapers. He complained to his father, oh, my head, my head. And the father said to his servant, carry him to his mother. He carried him and brought him to his mother, and the child sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, closed the door on him, and left. And then she called to her husband and said, "Send me one of the servants and one of the donkeys, so that I may quickly go to the man of God and come back again." He said, "Why go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." And she said, "It will be all right." And then she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, "Urge the animal on. Do not hold back for me unless I tell you." So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. And when the man of God saw her coming, he said to Gehazi, his servant, "Look, there is the Shunammite woman. Run at once to meet her and say to her, 'Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is the child all right?' And she answered, 'It is all right.' When she came to the man of God at the mountain, she caught hold of his feet, and Gehazi approached to push her away. But the man of God said, 'Let her alone, for she is in bitter distress. The Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me.' And then she said, 'Did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, do not mislead me?' He said to Gehazi, 'Gird up your loins and take my staff in your hand and go. If you meet anyone, give no greeting. And if anyone greets you, do not answer. And lay my staff on the face of the child.' And then the mother of the child said, 'As the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, I will not leave without you.' So she rose up and followed her. He rose up and followed her. Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the face of the child, but there was no sound or sign of life. He came back to meet him and told him, 'The child has not awakened.' When Elisha came into the house, he saw the child lying dead on his bed. So he went in and closed the door on the two of them and prayed to the Lord. Then he got up on the bed and lay upon the child, putting his mouth upon his mouth, his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And while he lay bent over him, the flesh of the child became warm. He got down, walked once to and fro in the room, and then got up again and bent over him. The child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, 'Call the Shunammite woman.' So he called her. And when she came to him, he said, 'Take your son.' She came and fell at his feet, bowing to the ground. And then she took her son and left. Just for a few moments, I'd love to speak to you from this thought, seeing one thing and saying another. One of the most important questions in our lives, the answer to which is usually indicative of the quality of our life, is how do I handle my problems? That is to ponder how we conduct ourselves when the inevitable adversity is going to come upon us. Adversity in some form or fashion will come upon all of us, both in an individual and a communal way. Adversity has ways of finding us, and the course of every existence is largely impacted by the quality of our composure when problems come. Perhaps it's not our political status, neither is it the extent of our education or the myriad other things we often give credence to. But what is really going to help us be successful or not is how we handle problems. Most of us can easily handle the good times, not all of us, but most of us. And it is certainly easier to navigate life when things are going well. When I easier, isn't it, to handle certain things when my health is at handle things just a little bit better. But the question is, how does one handle life when hard economic times befall them? How does one handle life when a child is having the worst of times in school? How does one handle a routine doctor's visit that ends with a scary diagnosis? And in this text in 2 Kings, there is a wealthy woman living in a place called Shunem. In fact, all indications are that she is the source of her family's wealth, not her husband. This woman seems to recognize the holy nature of a prophet who regularly makes his way through town. And as an itinerant prophet, this man travels from his headquarters at Carmel to a predictable circuit of locations, and he passes by on that circuit her house on this route. And the woman tells her husband, you know what we need to do? Let's put an addition on our house. We can build a little room so that every time this man is passing by on his regular basis, he doesn't have to find a place to stay, but he can stay with us and we can entertain him in our home. So they build this room attached to the roof, complete with a bed, a stool, and a desk where this prophet, Elisha, can do his writing and his reading. And in recognition of this kindness, Elisha sends his servant Gehazi to the woman with this question: is there anything that I can do for you? Is there anything that you need? He instructs the servant to ask her if perhaps he can put in a good word with the king, or maybe talk to one of his wealthy friends, because Elisha, in fact, is somebody. He's got influence with the court of the king. But the woman's response is essentially, no, I don't need you to talk to the king for me. I don't need you to put in a good word with the powers that be, because I live among my own people. And right here where I am, I have everything that I need to be content. But being the clairvoyant prophet that he is, Elisha recognizes that although she is content with all that she has, the woman has no child. Even as today, the inability to conceive naturally can cause a lot of stress for families. It would have caused even more stress in ancient Hebrew life, because there are indications that such a condition would have brought about a lot of shame. There would have been a lot of shame attached to this woman, because bearing children was very important. And when the discussion of children came up, the woman makes it clear that she has an older husband and that she cannot conceive. But Elisha isn't really concerned about these physical limitations and constraints. He declares to this woman, this time next year, you're going to have a child. And her response to this pronouncement is a very predictable laugh. A laugh off, not unlike the one that we see elsewhere in the Bible, where the famous Sarai and Abraham, or Abram at the time, are told something similar. And I'm convinced, however, that this woman's dismissal is less about outright disbelief and more about the pain appointment. It's much easier to never embrace a thought than it is to embrace a thought and thought doesn't no action of the child that has little blood had been, unfortunately. All right, I hope sounds like one day the boy's father is out. I apologize for a technical glitch. It looked like happened. One day, the boy's father is out in the field tending to the workers on the property. And the boy, who might be about 5 or 6 at the time, comes and he says, "Dad, my head hurts. My head hurts." The story doesn't indicate what kind of malady this may have been. It may have been a heat stroke. We don't know. But the father directs one of the workers to send the boy to his mother. And then at noon, this boy, this little blessing, dies. Now, all of a sudden, we're presented with a mother who is in the worst of predicaments. She didn't ask for the son in the first place. And now the blessing that she's grown accustomed to, but again, didn't ask for, has died. Her hopes, her dreams, the excitement that has been aroused, all of a sudden, it's all been snatched away from her. The woman, however, being a woman of faith, takes her problem, which in this case is the body of her now deceased son, and she places her problem as close to the presence of God as she could possibly place it. That is the bed of this man of God, this prophet Elisha. There's a few lessons in here, but one is the reminder to embrace spiritual disciplines. And just like this experience worship that we're all doing together, even if virtual. It's a spiritual discipline. It's a discipline. It's something that most of us, many of us, do regularly. Those of us that choose to engage in regular worship do so in part because we recognize that there's power in our corporate gathering, in the presence of the Almighty together. It is one place that we can bring our cares and our burdens and our concerns. And this woman places her problems on the bed of the prophet. She's convinced that there is just something about this holy prophet that may lead to her son living again. After all, every time the prophet comes around, miracles happen. Every time he speaks, wisdom seems to flow out of his mouth. And we know that geographically, it's about 14 or 15 miles from the farthest edge of Shunem to the place where we know Elisha keeps headquarters. So the woman gets a servant and she tells her husband, I am going to the prophet. Get one of these men to give me a donkey because we're going to Elisha. And her husband is perplexed because it's not the Sabbath, it's not a new moon, the times when people will go to inquire of the prophet or inquire of the oracles. And now at this point, she also hasn't told her husband. She hasn't revealed that their son is dead. All she said was that she's going to the prophet. And she tells her husband shalom in the Hebrew. The text gives us the word shalom, which translated is all is well. There's peace. Things are fine. Imagine that, having a dead son lying in the house on the bed of a man who's not there, but yet your declaration is peace. You have peace. Things are peace. The situation is peace. Everything is going to be all right, she said. So she travels the 14 or 15 miles to the headquarters of Elisha, and the prophet sees her coming afar off, and recognizing her, he says to his servant Gehazi, meet her halfway, find out what it is that she wants. She's clearly in distress, but the Lord hasn't revealed it to me, Gehazi, but I perceive that there is a problem. And Gehazi gets to her, and he poses the question, woman, how are you faring? How are things? How is your husband? How is your son? And you know what she says? She says, shalom. Everything is all right. She doesn't say it's going to be all right tomorrow. She doesn't say it's close to being all right. She says, shalom. Things are all right. Imagine being fully aware of a dead child at home, and yet still having enough faith to be able to, hopefully you can see me here. Imagine having a dead child at home, yet still having enough faith to be able to declare that everything is all right, to be able to declare shalom, peace, contentment, security, ease, fulfillment, gratification, satisfaction. Quite amazing. Imagine being in the position of having to bury the child you never asked for, but grew to love, and yet still being able to utter with confidence these words, all is well. The woman's amazing testimony, despite what she was experiencing, was that everything was all right. And how are we supposed to reconcile this? You know what? There's a proverb that I love that says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. Something powerful happens when we begin to speak words of life over the most deathly of situations. No, it doesn't mean operating out of denial, but it does mean declaring the world that we want to see until we finally see it. It's what every teacher does when they tell a kid that you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. No, the kid hasn't gone to college yet, and they haven't gotten their master's in engineering or whatever is required for them to accomplish their particular goal in life. But what it is saying is that until you turn 18 or 21 or whatever age you'll get your first best job in your career that you've dreamt about, I'm going to tell you the words of life. I'm going to speak over you and declare this self-fulfilling prophecy that you are the great engineer, you are the great firefighter, you're even president of the United States. In fact, often when we go back and remember what has come out of our mouths in times past, we begin to see connections between the things we've said and the things we see in our lives. But perhaps if we want to see the miraculous happen in our life, It's not about pixie dust. It's not about incantations and cauldrons. It is about embracing, in part, about embracing the power of speaking those things, those miraculous things, into reality. How does the story end? It ends with the prophet returning to the woman's house, stretching himself over the boy, and eventually the boy's body grows warm. He sneezes a few times and is restored to the healthy little boy he was before that headache that led to whatever it is that took his life. It's a feel-good ending, yes, but what I most appreciate about it, and what I hope you'll take note of, is the faith and power of this mother who has a dead boy at home lying in a bedroom, but has enough faith and enough excitement in her life to be able to declare in the midst of that, everything is all right. And so for us, the lesson is that no matter what we see, we should declare what we desire to see. Sure, there is a pandemic that is yet ravaging our lives. And the latest news is that with variants, the cases seem to be trickling up for those who have not gotten vaccinated yet. But you know what? We're healed. Yes, there's other pandemics going on, like the ones that are unfortunately maligning people of color and now attacking various curricula and places where people are seeking to bring more equity to schools. But you know what? We declare our schools are places of learning and healing and hope. We speak what we want to see, even if we don't see it, until we see it, so that we can see it. And that is the blessing that life and death are indeed in the power of the tongue. God bless you.
Sorry. As we move into the time in our service when we lift up without names the joys and sorrows among us. I invite you to sing wherever you are, there is a love holding me.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding me. I rest in this love.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Latula, and I am a member of the pastoral care team. I will be the contact person for the month of July. Today, I have some cards of sharing and joys and sorrows to read with you, and a candle has been lit. Sorrow, we request your thoughts and prayers for a member's mother who passed away on July 12th at the age of 95, and for her family and her friends. Concern, please wing some healing thoughts to my mother. After feeling awful for days, she was diagnosed with a ruptured appendix and is in the hospital, responding somewhat to meds, but will also need surgery at some point. Very grateful for my family's help so I could be with her. And lastly, a concern. Please keep our daughter in your thoughts and prayers as she struggles to regain her mental health. And as always, we light a candle for the joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts and that remain unspoken. Thank you.
There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding us. We rest in this love.
Now, please join us in singing our hymn 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every craving kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the dawn of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith. And our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
It's been I pray the message may have encouraged you or give you there's a little bit of a delay here. I hope that I'm okay. Can you hear me? Good. Okay. I pray that the message today may have encouraged you or give to think about this week. It's always a joy to be for your congregation is on the front lines of so many important issues and standing in solidarity with marginalized people across the spectrum of marginalized individuals. So thank you to that, and God bless you on this week.